What's going on, crypto friends? This is Manny B Investing. I'm going to be talking about an article that popped up today, not too long ago, a few hours ago, September 9th, from CNBC. And I know mainstream media is not very kind to cryptocurrency, but I like looking at what they talk about. So this article written by a Mackenzie Siglios, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. We got her Twitter page pulled up here. I'm going to go ahead and add her to our list. Boom. Save. Building out my news sources, both mainstream and community based. So that's what that is about. So key points here in the article: in 2020, El Salvador received nearly $6 billion in remittance, which accounts for about 23% of its gross domestic product, its GDP. 23% of the GDP for El Salvador is remittance fees, basically. President Bukele estimates that money services providers like Western Union and MoneyGram will lose $400 million in a year commission for the remittance payments that are sent to his country. And they believe that that will be thanks to the adoption of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Some 70% of Salvadorian population receives remittance payments. So what that is that's just, family members that have moved on from the family and moved to different countries to seek opportunity, and may have found that opportunity. Honestly, the economy in these third world countries are really bad, and I mean, a job at McDonald's could sustain several families there. So, I mean, anyone getting out of those countries, getting to the United States economy is going to be a big time advantage for persons in countries like this. And the big banks, they understand that, and they kind of choke the life out of that kind of system. They say, hey, these people are coming to America, and they're going to need to send money back home. We have these old traditional payment rails that are owned by the banks, and they take full advantage of that. Western Union is one of those companies. They take advantage of, people that are marginalized communities in the United States. They definitely take advantage of, marginalized countries, marginalized people in those countries, like El Salvador. Jamie Garcia really hates using Western Union to send money home to El Salvador. In his day and age, it is wild that I have to go to a physical Western Union office, give them actual cash, and then hand them another $25 on top of that before they would send my money over, Garcia said. And then, of course, it takes 3 days for it to actually arrive in El Salvador. Garcia, who lives in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan, fled El Salvador when he was 11 after rebels bombed his house. His biggest issue with wiring cash abroad is less the inconvenience on his end and more about what happens to his loved ones receiving the money. They have to take a bus to go to a physical location to pick it up. And there are gangs that hang out around those offices. They know what people are going there for, and they basically rob them, says Garcia, who leads a team of researchers at SGI Canada Insurance. Since he last sent money home, Garcia told CNBC he now has the option to make an online payment via Western Union app, but he still faces steep fees of 12.5% for a $100 transfer, and it doesn't solve the problem of what happens to those picking up the cash in El Salvador. So he has the convenience of using an application now, which is crazy that it took so long to get that, because they know Western Union's customers are typically poor people who need help. They prey and make millions and billions of dollars on people that are in a bad way. That is just, to me, morally just wrong. You shouldn't be able to build a financial empire on the backs of people that can't take care of themselves. Garcia isn't alone in his frustrations with the legacy payment rails that have long dominated the business of cross-border payments. And not just cross-border. We have those payment rails in America, and they are connected directly again to these really impoverished communities and groups of people that don't have any other options. Many in the $2.5 million Salvadorian diaspora send money to family and friends still living in El Salvador. Last year, they collected they collectively transferred nearly $6 billion, or roughly 23% of the country's gross domestic product. And a chunk of that went to the middleman facilitating these international transfers. Remittance are one area where the status quo in our legacy financial system is terrible, with extraordinarily high fees leveled at populations that can ill afford them, said Matt Hogan, Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise Asset Management. It's a worn out Twitter saying, but Bitcoin really does fix this. The hassle around remittance is one chief reason El Salvador President Bukele cited for declaring Bitcoin legal tender. As part of a rollout, the government will launch its own national virtual wallet called Chivo. I think that's how you say that. Or Salvadorian slang for cool, which offers no transaction fees and allows for quick cross-border payments. That's actually pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about the no payment fees. I mean, they should at least take like a quarter of 1% for like maintenance or some kind of fund. Like allow them to be able to send money for next to nothing, but also collect for governance, collect for maintenance, and then maybe start like a relief fund for, the population. Should there be like a hurricane or a flood or anything like that, you can go into the community fund and use those monies if there's an emergency. Because a lot of governments get tied up in like providing funding in cases of emergency like that. The Chivo wallet, Bukele is young, tech savvy, and a budding authoritarian. He has also tethered his political fate to the country's Bitcoin experiment. So he is pulling out all the stops to make it work. One of those perks is offering $30 worth of free Bitcoin to every Salvadorian inside the country who signs up for the Chivo wallet. That's cool. That's no small sum of money in a country where the monthly minimum wage is $365. Remittance from abroad comprise nearly a quarter of the Salvadorian GDP, and around 70% of the population receives them. The average monthly remittance transfer is $195, and for a household that receives remittance, it makes up 50% of their total income. So funneling of cash from abroad back to El Salvador is critical to survival for most in the country. Around 60% of the cash comes via remittance companies and 38% through banking institutions, according to official data. Fees vary by company, but typically the smaller the payment, the higher the percentage that goes to fees. For instance, if Garcia wants to send $10 to his cousin in San Salvador, he will pay $225, or nearly 33% in commission to Western Union. If he uses his MUN self-custodial wallet for transactions, however, he will pay 10 cents or a 1% fee. And if Garcia were to pay from the Chivo wallet, which is reserved for Salvadorian nationals living at home or abroad, the transaction would be free. Once his cousin receives the funds, he can go to any of the 200 new Chivo ATMs the government has rolled out and withdraw US dollars from his virtual wallet. Now that is what cryptocurrency is all about. It's going to change the world. It's going to affect the planet in a positive way, and not just Bitcoin. Honestly, I think Bitcoin is just very important as far as just being that measuring stick, but the altcoins are going to move in. They have the functionality, they have the use case. The technology is generation 3 and beyond. And it's just the way. That dead drop, that's drop dead stunning. It's an incredible humanitarian improvement. The president estimates the money service providers like Western Union and MoneyGram will lose $400 million a year in commissions and remittance should the population adopt Bitcoin at scale. Mario Gomez Lozada, who was born and raised in El Salvador, works as a banker with Merrill Lynch and Credit Suisse, now runs a derivatives exchange for crypto assets, thinks the future will be closer to 1 billion. The figure will be close to 1 billion. 1 billion a year. Oof. Western Union did not reply to CNBC's request to comment, whether the company was worried about how it might affect business and if there's any plans to alter the fee structures to adjust. They have no choice. They have a couple of options. Garcia says he's no Bukele booster, but he is a fan of the project in large part because of the remittance use case. Garcia hadn't thought twice about cryptocurrencies before the June announcement. My birth country decided to get into Bitcoin, so I wanted to learn all about how it works, said Garcia. He has spent the last 3 months teaching himself about the topics and has become a Bitcoin investor himself, holding some of his digital coins in cold storage on a Tether hardware wallet. After digging in and experimenting with friends and family, Garcia says he feels one of the most powerful features of the Chivo wallet is the fact that users can operate in either US dollars or Bitcoin. For a country where 70% of its citizens do not have access to traditional financial services, Chivo not only offers a convenient on-ramp for those who have never been a part of the banking system, but it also helps them test the waters by only dealing in US dollars to start. It will be interesting to see the impact on remittance in a few months and see what percentage of it uses the Bitcoin network rails, said Lozada. My guess is most people initially will cash Bitcoin into US dollars. This is what they are used to, but we should see a gradual adoption of Bitcoin as the main means of transaction and pricing. I see future where a consumer item like milk and bread are priced in Bitcoin directly, and people might even start holding Bitcoin. That would be cool. Not your keys, not your coins. Before Bukele banked his reputation on Bitcoin, some Salvadorians had already begun to make cheap, quick, and borderless crypto payments with the Strike app. Strike app in El Salvador in March and soon became the most downloaded app in the country. Many have started to use the mobile payments app as a way to send and receive money abroad. Strike declined to share its exact transaction volumes in the last 6 months. Still, between Strike and Chivo, a reckoning is underway for the current remittance system and its high fees. However, users should exercise some caution before going all in on the government's new wallet, according to experts. Gladson, also, who recently spent time in El Salvador, points out that the Chivo wallet is no different than a bank, meaning that the government has the authority to freeze the value. That is why he is a firm believer in El Salvadorans taking control of their financial destinies by transferring their Bitcoin out of Chivo and into a wallet where they can exercise more control over the funds. Garcia also makes the point that we are still in the early days of the rollout. Is it hackable? We don't know yet, he said. I think there's financial Bitcoin hygiene that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to custodial wallets, which is what Chivo is. He said it's not even that people are distrustful of the government. People are distrustful of platforms like Gox, centralized entity that hold money that have been hacked in the past. The whole concept behind Bitcoin is decentralization. The fact that individuals can take control of their financial health and their money. And this is a really good article. You can check it out. The link here, I'll put it in the description on the video when I upload it. But yeah, that's it. McKinsey seems to cover tech stuff, mostly cryptocurrency things. Looks like she's been posting a lot of stuff about the Bitcoin adoption in El Salvador. So I think that's going to be a really good news source, mainstream news source for us. We'll continue to check out that timeline for additional stories, talking points for videos. But yeah, you look at this article, you tell me what you think. If you think that El Salvador is making the right move for its people and how their people can probably protect their funding, their money, their holdings, I think we might make some videos about that, because I need to make some videos about hardware wallets and exchanges and how that all works anyway. So thank you for checking out the channel, the video. Make sure you hit that like, hit the share and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.